All right, thank you once again. And so this is our sixth year doing this every year in Textiles, like you got introduced during the onboarding session. We come together to offer this training. For security, this is actually our fourth year because we didn't start security when the community started. If you go to our YouTube channel, you will see all our trainings. Our first training was around security operations for beginners using the SC900 pathway. Our second training was for identity and access management, and we used the SC300. And our third training was on data protection, and we used the SC400. This is our fourth training in textiles, which is sixth for the community. And what we decided to do this year was bring a little bit of twist. We looked at what is applicable in the job market because we understand that for many people, this is an opportunity for them to break into the job market. For people who are already working, they want to transition into cybersecurity. This is another opportunity for them. And for those who are just graduating, who want to understand what they need to do, this is another opportunity. And for lots of people who jackpot in quotes, who are trying to blend into the jackpot system, right? You're looking for something that will stand you out, this and that. So we decided to customize this training. So when we call it the Microsoft Cloud Security, please bear in mind that it's very customized. Lots of things have been taken out because what we want to do is just to make sure that those who come for this training can leave here knowledgeable about what cloud identity is. And then also we looked at that we're in the era of AI, give you some flair of artificial intelligence, security and data. And if you look at the other learning pathways, right? When we begin to go into our courseworks and projects, you see why we chose this customized training model because it allows you to be able to interact with your other colleagues and provide security value, which is actually what happens in the real world. In the real world, trust me, nobody's going to sit down and ask you ABCD. In the real world, what will happen is you'll be interacting with application developers, interacting with different line of business users, and be bringing the security flair in it, right? So it was based on that thought process that we decided to customize this training. Um, Please, if you didn't have the intent of joining the security pathway, please feel free to drop. But guess what? We really want you to stay with us. We want you to enjoy these 8 weeks with us. So please feel free to stay if you just found yourself in this room and this was not what you wanted to do. Many a times we hear these three words: cybersecurity, information security, and the word security. Same, but they're somehow they're different. I like to call them the security spectrum. Most times when you hear cybersecurity, what comes to your thought process is hackers, firewall. And when you hear information security, ideally what you'll be looking at would be, you know, um, securing information security policies. And then for those who are already in the corporate world, whenever they hear information security, they're looking at people in internal control, people in compliance. And then whenever we hear the word security, yes, the sessions are being recorded. And whenever we hear the word security, hear with me, please, we focus more on a physical human being sitting somewhere, like this guy, Dave, broad chest, macho, that's what you understand security. However, in the tech space, we tend to, interchangeably use these words whenever we're trying to refer to securing things. So it's okay if you're one of the culprits who find yourself interchangeably using these words. We understand where you're going to, right? But they would mean different things by the time you begin to put some context in them. Here's a quick way to, think about these terms and how they overlap. Just imagine them as siblings. Imagine yourself and your siblings, or imagine yourself as a parent and your children, right? If you have more than one kids, or imagine yourself and your siblings if you have siblings. And if you're an only child, imagine yourself and your cousins. But the point is that you're all related somehow, but each of you have your own unique role and personality. So when we hear cybersecurity, when we hear information security, when we hear security, they all kind of help do something that is common, protect us. protect information, protect data. So, for example, if you go to the bank today, you have the security man there who is the first line of defense, making sure that this physical security is accurate, ensuring that you're the right person, or you really want to do what you want to do in the environment, right? And when you now get into the environment, right, to access an information, somebody is there making sure that the information you are providing. So if you present, for example, a check, person is checking your face, checking the signature, and then from a cybersecurity perspective, controls and technologies have been put in place to help detect, to just make sure that they prevent you, from attackers. So as we move on this journey, you'll be understanding why, we call this security. As much as it's called security, sitting at that first layer of defense, sitting on top of it is the information security. And because we live in a world of online digital, cybersecurity has become that protection that we need, that is focused on digital assets and cyber threats. Now let's do a little thing. I've been talking for, I think, about 8 to 10 minutes. Now it's your turn to speak, right? I'd like you to bring out your phone if you're connecting from your system, but if you're using your phone to connect, just go to a browser on your phone and go to this, open a browser, type menti.com, menti.com, and it will ask you for a code. Put the code that's on your screen, and let's the questions. I'd like to know who is in the room. I'd like to know what brought you here. Trust me, no questions to take you off guard. Just 3 little interesting questions to help me understand my audience. Are we ready? I'm bringing out my phone so I'm doing the same thing. 1 minute. Are we there now?
Are we going to sign up now?
Yeah, have you scanned the QR code, or have you put the code in your browser, and then I will switch my screen?
Yes, I've put the code on my browser, but it's asking me to sign up for Mentimeter.
No, so if you put menti.com, it will just take you to a browser that is asking you for a code.
Yes.
Yes, after the code, it will take you to thanks for joining, sign up for Mentimeter or view the results.
No,
Yes,
so
that's
if you
where I
put
am.
the code, don't click on join yet, just hold on and I would launch it. 1 minute, please. Oh, I think there's a problem. Just 1 minute, please. Okay, I don't know what's happening, but it worked for me. I just put the code, and when I put join, it takes me to where I want it to be. So if you click on join, are you saying it's asking you to log in?
He's asking, where are you joining from?
Yeah, so that's the question. So start answering. So that's my first question. Where are you joining from? Put your answers.
But it's not clickable.
It's not clickable.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. Don't know what's happening here. Test the door. Technology has gotten
No, ma,
itself in. Pardon?
it's not clickable.
Yes, I've heard, yeah, someone mentioned, I don't know what's happening here. I might have to skip this. I did all these checks. Technology has shown itself to me.
It says wait for presenter to change slides. Maybe you need to do something at your end.
Yes. Okay. I'll try one more time, and if it doesn't work, we can skip this, and hopefully I'll get it to fix next time. But just one more minute. Let me try one more mode. It's telling me. Okay, guys, I might have to just stop this. Unfortunately, it's not working the way I want it. Don't know why. Maybe I'm not doing something right. I don't know.
Good afternoon, ma.
Yes, good afternoon.
Ma'am, when I try to submit, it says you have not voted. So I think the thumb button down is something like voting. Whether you should change the option, if I'm not mistaken, it's something like a form. So it's supposed to be a
Okay,
space that you have to choose the option that we are to input answer, not vote.
I
Please
get
stop
you.
it.
Okay, you have a point. Then maybe I selected something wrong when I was building this up.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you for observation. Okay, guys, one more minute, and if it doesn't work, I would. So let me just go and check if there's a place to switch from vote to comment. That's what I'm hearing you say, right? Yeah. Edit, edit, comment, edit, find where. Show instructions, blah, 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 blah. Nah. So you're right. I've seen what you're talking about. I've not seen where I can make that change. Yeah. Okay, my bad, guys. Okay, I think I've seen it. Oh, I've seen it. I've seen it. Okay, can you refresh and see if it works now?
It's still not clickable here.
It's still.
Yes, I just sent you my location.
Did it allow you to type now?
No, ma.
Yes, I typed. You see Abia State. Yes, beyond there is comment, so we can type now. Write a comment.
Join. Yes, send a comment. This is actually different. This is not how I wanted it to be. Yeah. Okay, guys, let this not distract us. It's not coming out the way I wanted it. I would have loved to just see where we're all connecting from. This is not, it's not working the way I want it. All right. Let's go back. Please let me know if you can see my screen. All right, please help me use the chat button. On the chat, drop your name and where you're connecting from. If you don't want to drop your name, that's fine, but just let me know where you're connecting from. If you're outside Nigeria, it would be good to let us know what country. If you're within Nigeria, please put the state, even though you're in Nigeria. Thank you very much. Please let me know with a thumbs up if you are seeing my screen. Okay, thank you. On that Mentimeter part, I had two questions there. I had the question I wanted to know where you're connecting from, and I have another question, which is I would like to know, is there anything that you think or that you know right now or that you think could be the reason why you would not be able to complete this training, right? If you have any idea of why you think you would not be able to complete this training, please share with us in the chat, in the chat box. Or is there any reason that you already know that will currently make you not to be able to complete this training? I would also like to see your responses in the chat box. Thank you very much. I can see we have people from the United States, people from Kenya, people from Abuja, Nigeria, people from Lagos, people from Abia State. Thank you all very much. It's good to see, that we have these audience, people from Ireland. Thank you very much. Akure, Zimbabwe, Kogi, Lokoja, Ghana. Oh, thank you. It's a very inclusive, inclusive Jaws. Wow, good. Plateau. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Zimbabwe, I can cite you there. Port Harcourt, Nigeria. That's good. Ajah, Lagos, Nigeria. Thank you very much. Thank you, guys. Good to see you. Once again, thank you for giving me your time, and I hope that we will make it worth your time. Again, another question, like I said, is why do you think you would not be able to complete this training? Or is there anything that you're perceiving that might just come up and you might not be able to complete this training? I'd like to know why. Why am I asking this question? In Textiles, we're committed to helping you on this journey. One of our great mission here is to see you succeed. We are very, very fully committed to expanding and supporting the cybersecurity skill gap that exists. We know that you can do it. We know that you have what it takes to be successful in this industry. We know that the opportunities are limitless. And so that's why we take our time to put this event together. And so if there's anything that will make you, we would like to know so that we can help you. I have my assistant on the call. I don't know if she's on the call. Please, can you drop the chat so that I can know you? And if there's anything you think that would be impacting you, please reach out to Onu and tell her, and we'll be able to see how to help you. We want to see you succeed, and you can succeed. We're giving you a foundation, and beyond the 8 weeks, after the 8 weeks, we're here to take all your questions, take all your support to get you to see how to make it to that next leap. I leave this quote for us as we project, further. Start where you are. Use what you have. Do what you can. Don't say, I can't do it. I don't have any tech skills. I have been out of job for years. I have been applying for jobs. I've sent over 500 applications. How is this going to be different? I don't have a good laptop. I don't even have a laptop at all. I'm using my phone to learn this. How will I practice? Is it possible to do tech without even a laptop? I can't afford data. I don't have money to buy data. How will I be able to stick with the classes? Start where you are. You don't have data. You have 7 days, 6 days in the week, right? To start. How much data will that take? Sit down, write the name of everybody that you know that you can call to say, I have this training that's going to help my career. I have this training that's going to help me get the next free job. I need you to support me. It's going to cost me about 5,000, 10,000 to buy data, whatever you have. You'll be amazed. I have a story of a wonderful friend I met. Before Jackpot became a big
Hello,
deal, she
Nabil. Why
had
are you
wanted the
calling me?
next thing. Please do me a favor, mute yourself again,
Why
just
are
so
you
that we can
calling me?
have an orderly environment. If somebody is off mute, you all have the power to mute the person off so that the person does not distract us. Thank you very much. And so, as I was saying on this, my friend's story, she wanted that next thing for her career. She was in her early 20s. She knew that there was something else, but she didn't know what to place. And then she did a research, and there was this wonderful institution that was going to give her the training that she needed, but she couldn't afford it. She did a GoFundMe, and amazing as it sounds, she had people support her dream, full tuition fee, full everything that she needed to pay. And she went and studied, and from the US and from the UK today, she has moved to the US. There is nothing that is stopping you except you. The only reason why you have not moved is because you are the one telling you that you cannot do it. So I'm here today to encourage you that you can do it. I wasn't an A-class student. In fact, if we follow the grading system of Nigeria, I used to be what they used to call last five, right? I never was classified as a brilliant student, but I find myself today doing cybersecurity. Why? Because I didn't give up on myself. I pushed myself and I'm where I am today. So I encourage you, start where you are. Forget about all the mistakes you have made up until this point. Forget about every other thing that you have done up until this point. Start where you are today. Use what you're going to learn, and we will do what we can. Thank you very much. If you're committed and you're still with me, please let me see your hi, hello, reaction in the chat, and let me know I still have you and you haven't slept off on me and you haven't been distracted. Thank you. Now, let's take a moment to understand the gravity of the situation we're addressing in this training, right? Cybercrime is not a buzzword anymore. In fact, it's a rapidly escalating threat to the real world. Statistics have shown that as of 2025, which we are in right now, the cybercrime global economy altogether, the global economy of cybercrime is going to be worth about 10.5 trillion US dollars. That's the value of cybercrime in the year 2025. And further projections have it that by 2028, it would have gotten to about 13.82 trillion, guys. These are staggering features. I can see your hand. If your hands are up for questions, don't worry. I will note it, just leave it up and I will call you as we progress, right? I make sure that in between I will stop and ask questions. So just leave your hand up if you're asking questions and I will still call you, you know. These are staggering figures. These are figures that I don't know about you, but I'm very passionate about security. And so when I see figures like this, I'm like, how are we going to fix this? The excitement that technology brings also brings about these vulnerabilities and potential exploits, and so it's important, right, that we all collectively come together to see how we can, fix this. An average cost of a data breach that will happen to, an organization or globally, or rather the average cost of data breach that happened in 2024 when they totaled all the data breach. And don't forget, data breach is the people who reported. There are people who don't report their data breach, right? Now, for people who report their data breach, because regulation requires you to report data breaches, as at 2024, it was valued at 4.88 million, which was a massive 10% increase from the previous years. Now, while these bridges always lead to financial losses, right? They also cause your customer to not have trust with you. They also give you long reputational damage. So you see that it's become very important that the threat landscape is addressed. And because it keeps evolving, look at what AI is doing now. So with artificial intelligence, there are more ways to create, phishing emails, identity theft, ransomwares. These attacks are becoming more and more and more, alarming. And so it's important that we have, people who have the knowledge and the skills to help us get it right. Another question I had in Mentimeter, even though it's not working, is have you ever been a victim of a cyber attack? If yes, let me see. And if no, don't bother. But if you've ever been a victim of a cyber attack, just say yes in the comment. And if you've not been a victim, that's good. Clap for yourself and fingers crossed, because there's something we say that there are three types of people: people that have been hacked and do not know, people that are already hacked, people that already hacked and do not know, people that have already been hacked, and people that will be hacked. That's how we say it in cybersecurity. We never say that nobody will be hacked. In cybersecurity, we say we all will get hacked some way, right? It's either you've already been hacked and you don't know, or you have already been hacked and you know, and so you've fixed it, and then you're hoping not to be hacked again, or you're among those that will eventually get hacked, So it'll be good to see in the chat, if you've ever had any experience or if you've ever been hacked or had any cyber breach. And then sitting on top of that question, have you ever been the reason for a cyber breach. I had to breathe. Have you ever been that link that led to a cyber breach? If you don't know, if you know, let's know in the comment section. You know, looking at this massive splurge, of cybercrime, it means that somewhere, somehow, somebody connected to me or you is responsible to a cyber attack. I like that. Someone just said, I don't know. And that's true. That's true. You don't know. My virtual assistant called me, I think it was last week. She's just been paid her salary, I think a night before, and she said, thank you, ma. And then the next day my phone buzzed and she was crying and I was what? And she's like, ma, I just went out, I just finished shopping and I came home and as I was cooking, I got buzzed on my phone. It was alert. My account has been wiped. I'm like, excuse me? And boom, this young little girl, hardworking, was looking at her phone, panicking as her money, her life savings were being withdrawn. And I felt so bad because I had just paid her, some salary into that account. And while we scrambled all over the internet looking for how to look for places to respond, by the way, that's a conversation for another day. And that's a business idea I have for anybody who wants, or for some project ideas I have for the guys who are in co-pilot agent. There was no immediate place to go to get information about what to do the moment you get compromised. We scrappled the internet looking for email addresses, phone numbers, because while we called contact center, remember the way you're calling contact center because you had a cyber attack is the same way somebody else is calling contact center. So she was on the queue and watching her accounts being scrapped and, her account being emptied. And while she was waiting on the queue for the contact center to pick up her call, the time was going and there was no emergency response for us to call to say, can my account be blocked now? And with the trigger of one button, that account will be blocked and then the guys will not be able to take beyond what they've taken. There was nothing like that. It got me thinking, it got me excited. It got me having my innovation and thinking caps, and I'm looking for people who will be interested for us to sit down and look at the Nigerian financial response to at least financial cyber attacks. How do we take what platforms these banks have and see how to put something? Because like I said, you might not be hacked today, so you might fall into the category of people that will be hacked. This is somebody that works close with me, so trust me, she understands cybersecurity at least up until the user level. I had to even start asking her because I know she has brothers. Are you sure your ATM is clear? Are you sure your brothers didn't take the ATM? Because it was just so overwhelming, but there was no way to fix it. Now, what does this tell you? It tells you that we still need people. We still need lots of people to join hands with us to fix this. There is a massive shortage in cyber skills. Let me interest you that, in fact, in the last couple of years, the jobs that have been available for cybersecurity have tripled, right? People have gotten more cybersecurity jobs, but the gap has tripled. How I want to explain this thing now? It's like saying that for every one job opening that comes and we close, there's 3 job openings that open up more. And I'll tell you why. Look at what AI has done. So why people say AI will take jobs? Yes, of mundane, annoying tasks. The advent of AI has created new jobs that require more cybersecurity professionals. I just told you of an idea now. Imagine when the banks have a platform collaborated. So today you are enjoying all the fintechs. Once upon a time, fintechs were not in existence. You would have to go to the bank, transact with the bank. But today, sitting in the comfort of your home, you can pick up your phone using OPay, using Money Point, open an account today, boom. Why? Because even the verification and the validation things that need to be done, these services are available for these fintechs to consume. So imagine if you had to report a cyber incident that fast and your account and all your services blocked, so that the impact of the cyber threat is reduced. Imagine incident response being optimized using artificial intelligence. It's getting me excited as I talk about it. That's what AI will bring. So we're not talking about humans sitting behind phones waiting for a long queue of call. We would have artificial agents sitting in and feeding into the mindset of these data and be able to plug APIs with connectors and trigger an action that will block. Who is going to design this application? Who is going to create the defense mechanism around this application? It's you. You who got interested in this program and joined this program, you will be exposed to the new level of technology, and you will be that innovation and the next innovator thinkers that will come up with wonderful innovations that will create this revolution. So why there's a huge cybersecurity skill shortage, we need more people to fill this space. Any questions, please, so far? I see people's hands up. Questions? All right, the people's hands that are up are not asking questions. So let's progress. My last question for today would be, do you have any experience with Microsoft security? Do you have any experience with Microsoft security? Have you ever worked with any Microsoft technology? If you have experience with Microsoft security, say yes, and then tell me what Microsoft technology you've worked with. If you have no experience with Microsoft security, just say no. Then I know it's no all round. If it is a yes, just say yes, and then put the Microsoft security technology you have worked with. Thank you. Now, what will we be doing here today? This course, like I had mentioned, is a curated course where we had looked at the Microsoft SC300, SC400, brought them together to create this program for you. And the SC300 is a big course, SC400 big. So we just picked bits and bits of here and came up with an 8-week module that we believe will be able to help you. So over the next 8 weeks, right, we're going to break this course into practical bit-sized modules. You will learn how to secure identities, protect data, understand how to use Microsoft's technology to provide a secure AI-driven environment, right? Explore Microsoft's tools to help reduce risk. Whether you're looking at passing the certification at the end of the day, that's fine. But this will also give you some idea on how to begin to prepare to read and practice. And then we also have hands-on experience and the ability or potential to be able to land you a role or a job. On that note, we'll hit the ground running, but let me just do a brief introduction. My name is Joy Medom. I have 12 plus experience in technology and cybersecurity. I recently started majoring in the last between 5 to 7 years, started focusing more on Microsoft security, and recently with AI governance. And I still do a bit of online child safety because I feel like we're so into tech right now that we need to start thinking and understanding how to protect our children. I have written 2 books in this year. One is a free practical workbook on how to start your cybersecurity career. It's a free workbook that gets you to do and write down actionable things that can allow you to be able to hold yourself accountable. I also have a book for children and parents to guide you on cybersecurity terminologies to begin to have interesting conversations. Gone are those days you sit as parents and just have conversations with your children that are not tech related. Trust me, you're going to be boring and old school. So you want to begin to have new school conversation with your kids. So we have a cybersecurity using the letters of the alphabet, terminologies that can help. I also created what I call the Zero to Hero, how to become a Microsoft security expert, a journey that shows you how to train and how to learn and grow into a Microsoft security expert. I'm the co-founder of Mama Cyber Shield. It's a community focused for stay-at-home moms. We're looking at how to help mothers come back into the workforce. We're seeing how to help mothers get skills that can empower them as they become, as they help, nurture the kids at home and also help them in the event where they want to go back into the workforce. Recently, earlier this year, I was one of those that were appointed as AI governor under the Global Council for Responsible AI in UK. Please help me mute our wonderful gentleman. And 2 years ago stepped down as the founding chairman of FGGC Umuahia Alumni, which I sat for about 7 years on that board. I speak at so many events, Women in Tech and the rest, and I'm an active mentor in Textilers, where you are CyberSafe Foundations, She Secures, and a couple of other foundations. I also got nominated as Cybersecurity Woman of the Year last year. Third finalists. I didn't win the award, but this year we're keeping our fingers crossed, and who knows, we might just bring that award home this year. I'm a wife, I'm a mother, and my motto again is the only thing stopping you is you. The only thing stopping you is you. And yes, the free book is not on the free book. Go to my profile on LinkedIn, you see a link to download the free book, and then the one for children, it's on Amazon. Thank you very much. My social handles will be dropped in the chat. Please feel free to connect with me. Please connect with me on any of the social platforms. I am on all social media platforms per se, because I know that people will have different preferences, and let's see how to connect and help you, achieve that your cybersecurity career. All right. Now, I want to get to know you. Now you've known me, right? I want to get to know you. So if you're just joining us and you didn't put down your name, you didn't put down where you're connecting from, please do that so I can know. And guess what? Drop your socials too on the chat so that people can connect with you. Drop your socials on the chat so that people can connect with you. And that way, we tend to grow this community and grow our network. We're going to be having a great time here together, right? Please be on time, which you were today. I was the one who was 7 minutes late. But, I'm just reiterating, please be on time. Please avoid distractions. Please mute your microphone as much as possible, just not to distract. Engage, engage, engage. Ask questions. No send anybody for the call. Don't feel anyhow with people on the call. Ask your questions. If I feel that your question is derailing or dragging us, trust me, I have the skills and capability and emotional intelligence on how to handle it. But I'd rather that you ask than feel like you had an environment where you couldn't ask your questions, okay? Please ask questions. At the end of today, what the coordinators will be doing is that they will collect attendance today. And at the end of today, we're going to group you in groups. So from next week, you will start doing hands-on assignments, lab environments, courseworks, projects in group. Do me a favor. From today, I'm going to paste the link for the Microsoft Learn. I can see Titi on the call. Titi, if you can help me Google the Microsoft Learn SC300, copy and paste the link. I would advise that you go and click on it and create a Microsoft profile and start reading it. Now, like I mentioned to you, this is a curated course, meaning that we took bits and bits and bits from those platforms and we put in here. So I would like you to start using the Microsoft Learn platform to read at your leisure, at your free time, so that you can get enough questions when we come here and challenge me and ask me so that I can help you. Please, please, please. So by next week, make sure that before you leave today, if you have to leave early, please raise your hand, ask if the coordinators have not put the attendance so that attendance can be taken, because we would group you in groups so that you can do assignment project work in groups. Why is this important? In the real world, you're not going to work alone. Excuse me, I'm not a fan of going for trainings and doing labs one by one. I'm sorry. I know some of us learn individually. I learn individually. But when I want to do real world scenarios, I like to work with people, because you're going to be in an office, have a manager, or you are going to be the manager, and you're going to be giving scenario based. You're going to sit in a team and they're going to say, we want to do ABCD, and you're expected to come up with the possible way to enhance and fix that security problem. So you cannot come and say you're learning hands-on and working in isolations. So our type of hands-on here, we're not going to be telling you click here, click here, click here. You will go and read that on your own because that's on Google. But we're going to be giving you project works that you work in group. You will challenge yourself. You will have a group of 6, 7 people. If somebody doesn't if somebody is not responding in your team, how would you handle it? That's why we have soft skills class. They're going to teach you emotional intelligence, teach you all those things, how you handle, because in real life, you're going to have a colleague that is going to frustrate you. You're going to have a colleague that you will be frustrating to the colleague too, and you'll find a way how to achieve results. So please, stay, enjoy this session, and it promises to be worth your time. All right. Seeing that we've done about 20 minutes, doing some introduction, let's take a quick stretch. Stand up, stretch your arms, raise your hands, go grab a cup of water, coffee, tea, if you need it. And we're moving into, the learning. Once again, if you're just joining us, drop in the chat any of your socials handle. Let's connect with you, your name, where you're connecting from. I'll be dropping mine, and let's connect. All right, if you finish stretching, I think they call this thing ergonometrics. I don't know, but I think that's what they call it. Stretch your arms, stretch your neck, All right, let's go. 3 pillars that we'll be focusing on: identity, data, and AI. They're all actually within the Microsoft ecosystem, but each of these guys play a critical role in protecting the modern day digital environment. And together they form this powerful security strategy. Well, in my opinion, right? But we'll be starting with identity, because if you can't access anything, you can't control anything, you can't secure without an identity, right? So if you're ready to do this with me, let's jump in. Something I want you to think about real quick. Split 1 second. Whenever you hear of a breach, trust me, majority of the time, the hackers didn't break in, they logged in. Majority of the time, majority of the cyber attacks, the hackers broke in. Social engineering, they sent a phishing email, a colleague clicked the phishing email, boom, they compromised his password, compromised the authentication and authorization mechanisms that were put in place. And when they went in, then they were able to see vulnerabilities within the network, and then they logged in. By the way, I teach in such a way that people can understand these big jargons that we tech people like to speak. So if you are an experienced person on this call, bear with me. I'm going to be using very simple terms so that the audience can understand and live here well knowledgeable without all these our big jargons that we speak as tech people. All right. Most cyber attacks don't start with the brute force. They actually start with stolen credentials, compromised identity. That's why it's very important that we secure our identity. And you don't secure what you don't know. So we're going to start by, first of all, getting to understand what is identity. You will leave here, and if you don't learn anything today, which today is just a startup, I want you to leave here now understanding the context of identity and what that identity means to you or means to us in cybersecurity. So your identity is who you are. I'm sure we're all of different faith and religion. I'm a Christian and I'm a Bible believing Christian, and I believe in Jesus, the Lord and Savior. And because of that, that's my identity. I stand to say Jesus is my identity. Somebody somewhere else has something they believe in and has something that they practice and has an ideology that they believe in. That's their identity. It's very important to understand identity and its relevance to how we secure data and information. So identity and access management, which is what you hear. So majority of the times you're going to be seeing IAM. The moment you start seeing IAM, trust me, hope you know that because of cookies, tag ads, you're going to be seeing lots of IAM now on your LinkedIn feed, Instagram feed, Twitter feed. Why? Because you've joined this training. We've used lots of hashtags. We're talking about these things. And so your cookie and your browser settings, by the time you start browsing security identity, lots of things you're going to be seeing will be flashing these words and terminology. It's not village people following you. It's technology. That's how it happens. Okay. So you're going to be seeing lots of IAM. IAM means identity and access management, right? So you need to understand the identity and then what access does it need? How do we manage the access? IAM is the backbone of cloud security. is what ensures that the right people, and only these people, have access to the right resources at the right time with the right reason. You're sitting somewhere in your room, somewhere all over the world right now, and you were able to connect to this session. When you wanted to connect, even if you did not have Microsoft Team installed, would you agree with me, or would you remember that the thing asked you to put in a name? Even when you selected, I don't want to log in, but I want to connect, it asked you to put in a name because it must create an identity for you. Cloud services today must give you an identity. Is there any software that you are using today that did not force you to create a profile? The moment you started creating a profile, you were creating a digital identity. Identity helps us answer the question, who are you? Who are you? So if I look at this call and people are throwing things, I can say, oh, Francisca Ibuzo. I might not know who she is, but I know that there's somebody on this call called Francisca Ibuzo. That's her identity, right? And so identity is very relevant when we are talking about cloud security because it makes us know who is who. And then access management is now what helps us say, what are you allowed to do? Identity, that thing that signifies who you are. Access management, what are you allowed to do? When we combine the two together, they help us to create this critical defense layer that says, this is this person, and this person is allowed to do this in this context. Is that making sense, guys? So when we say IAM, we're not even talking about just keeping bad guys away, right? We're talking about how we will manage this identity, monitor it, so that even the person who is legitimate, we're sure that they're doing what they need to do, right? So your identity is your digital representation of you, of a service, of a device. Now, don't forget, because it's digital, even your devices are an identity. So have you tried to do something? You take an iOS device, you do it, it gives you an experience. You take an Android device and it gives you a different experience. If you've ever had that kind of experience, let me know. Yeah. Why? Because those are two different types of identities, right? So when application developers are developing application, they're always cognizant that people have different devices. I know that there's so much buzz around iOS, but guess what? We still have other mobile OS like Windows OS, right? And all of them are identities, different identities for devices. Authentication we'll be looking at authentication down the line. And when we look at authentication, we explain who are you, what access are you providing? Because when I know who you are, then I need to validate who you are, right? When you get back to your children, why didn't you just say, this is a child? You created an identity for your child by giving them a name. And in fact, most of you, those names represented something. When I had my daughter after 8 years, my daughter was called Chioma. In Igbo language, that means God is good, Chioma. Because for us, God is good. She represents the goodness of God in us. When we see her, she identifies with God's goodness in our life. So in the digital world, it's very important that we're able to identify who you are, what you are doing. Now, should this spark some curiosity in you? Yes. What is that curiosity? That as long as you're online, there's nothing you're doing that doesn't leave a trace of you. So don't get it twisted. For those of you who think you do stuff and say, I deleted it, we'll talk about that later. Any questions so far? So in the digital world, identity is everything, right? If we can't reliably know who or what is requesting access to a system, then we can't. Like I said, we need to be able to protect. We need to protect what we know, right? So an identity in the digital world might be a person. So we call it human. So we have what called the human identity when we have what the non-human identities, right? So the human identity, it can be a device, it can be an API. So when we hear API, I'm sure many of you have been hearing API. API are just explaining services that are in one device or in one system rather, and they talk to another system. And for a system to talk to another system, they need a connection. We used to call it like proxy, but they need something to be able to go and talk to that thing and call. Have many of you gone to some agency where they will say, Madam, the person that will answer or fix that your file is in so 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 place. If you do the needful, I will be able to help that your file reach that so so place. That needful that they're asking you to do in the tech world now, I will classify it as API. That thing that needs to be done to be able to connect to another thing and bring out that information that you need. I had to use something that many of you can relate with just so that you can understand it. But hello, identity endpoint data app infrastructure network, wherever they represent people, services, device, or even your Internet of Things. Siri. How many of you like Siri? How many of you like Alexa? Alexa, on the TV for me. Alexa, off the TV for me. Alexa is talking to somewhere. The ability for Alexa to talk to something that has allowed Alexa to do what she's doing is because there's an API that Alexa is consuming. And this identity that Alexa is using to consume that API falls under non-human identities. So as we progress, we'll be using some of these examples to make this thing make meaning to you. So if I ask you right now to look at your life or look at yourself, can you be able to identify a couple of identities, right? So you'll be saying things like your name, you'll be saying things like your phone, you'll be saying things like your email addresses. Because for example, your internet bank, you'll be saying things like your username for your internet banking, your PIN. All of these things are type of identities, right? That you use to consume or authenticate to a service. So why do we use identity? Let's make this real. Imagine you're walking into an office or your office. First you stop at the front door, right? And then if you say, oh, I don't work in an office, I work from home, that's fine. Imagine you're logging into a portal because somehow you must log into something. It's Instagram, Facebook, whatever, your internet banking, you're logging somewhere. So it's either you're walking into an office, you meet a door, or you're logging into a portal and you meet the front door, right? It's asking you for something. It's either asking you for an ID or a username. If you're in the office, it's asking you for a badge to swipe to show that you're a staff. And even if you're a visitor, you go to the front desk to say, oh, I want to see something. They give you a visitor tag or something, right? And so what you're saying is, hey, it's me. That's what you're saying. This is me. When you swipe your card, you're saying, hey, this is me. When you putting your username on the portal, you're trying to tell them that that is you. So when you're logging into an application, right, the guys don't know. The application doesn't know who it is. What it uses to know you is that your username that was provisioned to you when you were set up, right? Then you head to your desk. So if you're working in an office, you head to your desk. Or for you who is logging into application, once you have put in your username, then you put a password. The password is now what authorizes you. So after the password authenticates you. Now, why the password is authenticating you? Sitting behind that are policies and rules that say, oh, this user Joy, that this username and password is correct. She's supposed to access XYZ. Her account says she has 100,000. How many of you know that today, when you took your 100,000, for example, to the bank and you gave the bank did not necessarily keep it in there. After they kept it in their vault, they used that money and probably gave somebody who came to withdraw. But what helps the bank know that you, Joy, you are the one who gave them 100,000 last week? So that if you come tomorrow and say, I gave you 100,000, I want it, is that system where they imputed it. So have you heard of, scenarios where when somebody, for those of you who worked in the bank, and people who were in teller, I'm sure you dreaded when you had to close your books and you just found out that it was not balancing. And somehow, you were able to trace that it was because somebody came and deposited 5,000 and you went to type 50,000 because you put an extra zero. But when you were closing, I think they call it till or so, it wasn't adding up. And by the time you saw it, you had to get your manager to help you. Do you know where that thing used to backfire for them? It's not in when the person comes to pay, because that one can be easily fixed. It's when the person comes to withdraw. Because how do you get? I've had cases where I've come to withdraw money, and when they gave me money, I didn't count it at the bank, but when I went home, it was more than. And so I've had to go back to the bank to return it. And I had this scenario where I came back to return it, and the guy was nasty to me. Oh my God. If not Jesus, I would have walked away with that money. But the Jesus in me just allowed me absorb the person. And by the time I explained, all I kept hearing was thank you, thank you. And I said, you're just lucky I have Jesus, because that's the only reason why I stayed back and allowed your nasty talk to me. Allow me. And guess what? That was when I was a student in university. You know how Sakpa used to hit us in school, and somebody was talking down on me, and we're talking about 10,000 naira way back, right? So you can imagine what I would have done with that money. But anyway, let bygones be bygones. But where I was going to that, the system only honors numbers. So the moment a wrong number has been put, the system does not have the ability to be able to say, Joy did not deposit 100,000. Right? You put Joy deposited 10,000, you went to put 100,000. The system sees that Joy has 100,000, right? It's potential for me to log into my internet bank and see 100, and meanwhile I'm expecting 10,000. So because of all these check and balances, that's why we have auditing. So why there's authentication, that we can put our username and password and it says correct. And then it now says, okay, this is Joy, give her this account. But we still need auditing because there could be errors, there could be mistake. So are you seeing where identity and access management are shaking hands together? They are one-on-one, because while we have authenticated you, we have authorized you, and everything is fine, we need to manage this whole process, because there's the potential for mistakes and error. And so we need to audit it so that we can be sure that everybody is working as expected. So you want to be able to prove who you are. You want to be able to get permission to do the right thing. You want to report on what has been done, and you want to be able to self-minister or audit what has been done. So these are the three, I call it, I think, did they call them? Do we have any? I saw a lawyer here, right? Is it three arms? How many arms of government do we have in Nigeria? The judiciary, the legislative. So in identity, these four guys are the four arms of government: the authentication, the authorization, the administration, and auditing. They go hand in hand. How you provision somebody, how you manage somebody, how you authorize the person, how you identify who this person, and how you report and give information back to who this person is. That's what happens in identity and access management. These are our four arms of government in IAM. I'll speed up a bit. I'm trying to be slow just so that I would rather that you understand this day one, and then from next week we start doing deep dive. Because when I asked what are the experience levels here, I saw that many people were not experienced in identity. So I'd rather take it bit by bit and you understand, and then from next week we start going into the mumbo jumbos, because you would have this week to start reading your Microsoft Learn, to start getting familiar to these terminologies before we start bamboozling you with too much talk. Now, we say identity is the control plane. Why? Well, I'm sure the first question you want to ask yourself is, what is even a control plane, right? In tech, this is the terminology that we use around networks, right? Is most times you say it's how network routes traffic. In the network architecture, you say, oh, how it routes traffic. So, but a control plane is a tool or a service that helps direct the resource to where they need to be. So, like this image is depicting, you're somewhere, you take your phone, I want to log into Instagram, you put in your username and password. That's all you know as a front end user. What you know is that you put in your username and password, and maybe your MFA, for those of you who have been, knowledgeable now to know the importance of MFA, and then you saw your Instagram page, right? But what has happened behind then is that your account has transversed across so many things. And that is what has allowed you to be able to see that face. I don't know how many of you remember when Meta had some issues and they said, oh, Facebook is down and all of that. For those of us in tech, we knew what it was. It was a DNS resolution, blah, 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 that was happening. So in identity, in security, we say identity is the main guy. You cannot see your Instagram page for you to be able to create your ads or for you to be able to troll. Let's even go with the guys who are trollers. For you to even become a troller, for you to have the identity to troll, for you to be able to have the identity to be able to say unfair and unruly things to people online, you need to have some form of identity. And that's why if you see trollers, they don't give their real identity, because they know that that character that they're depicting is not something they want to be known for. So when you go to the profiles of trollers, most times when you see them, and even the ones who manage to use their identity, when you see them and the person that they're talking, rudely to, you only just pray for them. So identity is the major thing that takes you and connects you to everywhere you need to be. Your email, your social media handles, your internet banking, is your identity that takes you there. I can see some hands on. I'm happy to take a question and we move on. Okay, if the hands on are not for question, we'll move on. So let me break this down and use a simple example. At the airport, you've got many systems, right, that are working. You have the boarding gate, you have the security checkpoint, you have baggage claim, you have lounge, you have immigration. Each of these systems, they're doing something different. You agree with me? But you know that all of them rely on one common control. What's that control? When you go into the airport, you go for your boarding pass, then you go to baggage, then you go to board, or you pass through immigration, then you come out, you want to pick up your baggage, then you want to pass through immigration, then you say, what's that common thing that all of them required from you? For those who said passport, right? But your passport is what? What is your passport? Your passport is an identity.
Identity
Absolutely.
card.
Your identity. The common thing from all those points, if you take step, yes, you wanted access. When you were dropping your bag, it was not access you wanted, though. So that's why access control is not the answer. But when you were dropping your bag, you wanted, when you pick your bag, they can match that it is you. So what did they do? They collected your card, validated that you're the one that bought the ticket, right? And then they now printed out that thing that they used to tag your bag. So that when you come out and you want to claim your bag, is that number that you take that matches your boarding pass. Then they ask you for your ID card again. And then they now say, okay, this person is the person that boarded this flight and is the owner of this thing, so is the owner of the bag. So when we say identity is the control plane, that's the mindset we have. And it is this same concept that happens in the tech world. So when you're on Instagram and you are browsing on Instagram and you have a username and password, the essence for your username and password is so that in the event anything is required, they can trace it to you. Let me use a controversial topic. I like to teach with controversial topic. So there's this young man that trends on social media with the acronym VDM, right? And recently had a saga with the red guys, right? And in the video I saw, he mentioned that his phones were taken. And he kept saying so many things on that phone, so many evidences. I sat down and I was concerned for all the people who had given him information. I wasn't concerned for him because he's fearless. He's the one who has the guts. He's like the Jesus that has been called to save the world, who is afraid. But then there are people by the side who can be Peter, who can be Paul, who don't have that Jesus. And so they gave him those information. And now because the red guys are sick, I was just thinking about what I know as somebody who has worked in forensic, those guys want to do with his device. And I felt for the people who have shared information with him, because there are many ways their identity can be traced, and there will be no doubt that they are the ones who gave that information to this young man. So you know what I thought to myself? I was like, does this young man know, for him to be able to do this mission that he feels he's called for, he needs to start thinking about how to safeguard people's identity. Again, I've given you people business idea. You see that we're gradually going to a world where we need to know that world is changing from how we used to do jobs before. So while he says he's an activist, and he's fearless and bold and daring. He needs to know that he cannot do activism in his totality without information. So people give him information, but he needs to understand in the digital world, he needs to protect the identity of these people. Because identity is the control pain, it's what takes us out. So at the end of the day, they will look through his phone, they will see things, and they'll be able to trace where information has leaked based on one or two things that he has voiced about that has dared the system. And so why they might not be able to take him down, they begin to take down the people. And once the people are taken down and he can't protect them, then you have somehow killed the voice. Food for thought. So I'm just saying, for those of you who probably are on the members of the cartel, take my advice to your president. He should begin to think information security and data security while he's running his activism in the world of today. He can't run activism like he's doing with the style of Nelson Mandela, them and the rest. It won't work in the digital world today, so he needs to start thinking. We're happy for free consulting anyway. All right, guys, I'm sure with this viewpoint of mine, right, I'm able to help you understand why identity is crucial to us in technology and crucial to us in cybersecurity and crucial to us in all that we do, because it is what helps you go everywhere and also helps us know who is going anywhere. Any questions? Okay. So, in summary, under
No.
understanding identity, identity is your single point of truth. That's who you are. That's what you are. Still leveraging on that guy's call. You know how people will say, when AI came out, Nigeria started doing this thing. If you catch them doing something, again, leveraging one of the cases that the young man exposed, right? And the person said it was AI, it was not their voice. These days I love when everybody, and then people started, you watch some of these kick makers and then they do something, they say, oh, it's AI, it's not me. That's fine. But remember when I showed you the image about different types of identity, it could be device, it could be infrastructure, it could be network. So there are things called IP. Do you all know that today, the first simplest way to know where you are is you are all connecting with an IP address? Do me one sweet exercise. Go to your browser, type, what is my IP? It's going to give you an IP address. Take that IP address, open another browser and type, whose IP is this? It will give you the ISP, meaning the person, the internet service provider you are using. Do you know that for every internet service provider you are using, there's a block of IP address that is given to them? And those IP addresses is dedicated to them, meaning that if you are using Glo, MTN, Airtel, and the rest, there are block of IPs that are given to them. The same thing with your office. When your office wanted to set up and they wanted a public identity, they had to go to the I've forgotten where they. I have Madam Ellie on the call. She's a member of that community. They're the ones responsible for giving IP addresses, right? And then they go and they give you a block of IP. So no two organization has the same internet IP, meaning that if I'm able to trace what is your public IP, I can have an idea of where you are coming from. That's an identity. So identity has network, IP addresses. And do you know that for your laptop, there's what they call MAC address. So for every hardware device, your laptop, your phone, it has a MAC address. And your MAC address is a physical address that the person who developed, the companies who developed your device, gave your device and is unique to your device. So when you are on the internet right now, your MAC address, your IP address, everything is keeping itself hanging on the internet. That's why when you meet forensic and investigations, the likes of the FBIs and the rest, no matter how long a fraudster takes, they always eventually catch them because they leave fingerprints and identities one way or the other. So your identity is the single point of truth when it comes to cloud and hybrid environments. And if we can control identity, then we can control everything, right? So remember this, you don't have it all, but we're going to start with identity and we begin to grow our knowledge and capability in cybersecurity. All right, any questions as we begin to, we're going deeper now, we're becoming more technical. We're becoming more technical. I'm moving away from generalization, using general expressions to make you understand. So now you understand the importance. So you're not going to say, everything I have to create account, everything I have to create name. Yes, because we need your identity, right? I can see hands up. Are the hands up for questions, or are the hands up telling me, Joy, well done? Or are the hands up, please, if you're feeling sleepy, stand, stretch your head, say to yourself, I cannot fail, I cannot sleep. This my eyes open. Shake your head, shake yourself, go grab water, and let's continue. Questions, please.
Ma, will you say access control is one of the components of IAM? Like, is access control part of it?
Access control is what gives you it falls under authorization. So when you come to an access control system, right, which can either be an access control list if it's a firewall, or if it is a physical tonsil, right, that you put as an access control, when you come there, does it just because you are there open up and allow you? Right? You need to present an identity.
No,
So yes, so under identity and access management, access control falls under authorization because it falls under the roles or the rules or the policies or the access control list that will determine where you go after your identity has been verified. Does that help you?
yes, ma. Thank you, ma.
You're welcome.
This course that I'm taking now, does it align with Security Plus in some kind of way?
Okay. Every mentor has their style at which they advise, but this is my recommendation, right?
Okay.
If you remember the slide where I said cybersecurity, I put cybersecurity, I put information security, and I put the word security. And I said they are same, but not the same. Meaning that
Okay.
when people say cybersecurity, I say, what is cybersecurity? Cybersecurity is a subset of information security. So cybersecurity is that you're now focusing on the cloud, internet,
Okay.
cyberspace. You want to understand, but what are you going to protect there? There are different things that need to be secured. You need to secure data, you need to secure identity. So this program we're doing is that inside cybersecurity, we have taken out identity, taken out data, and taken out AI, and said, let's give you a foundation of what this means. You can leave this class today and say, I'm going to now build my capacity on identity all the way, or I'm going to build my capacity on data all the way. I have some of my paid students on this class that are data people, but I told them, hey, join. This is a free program. Come and join this. You will learn the identity side of things, that because it helps you also understand his relationship. So to answer your question, the person wasn't wrong to tell you to go do CompTIA. The CompTIA S Plus is a non-solution agonistic non-solution agonistic program that is not tied to any solution provider. It just gives you a foundation into what cybersecurity is, right? So it will talk about threats, it will talk about vulnerabilities, it will talk about phishing, different types of threats, it will talk about networking, and it will give you at least a general view of what security means. In this class, we're focused on Microsoft technology. We're very focused, specific to Microsoft technology. So when I started, I just gave you an overview of security, and then I now started talking on identity security. And when we move from this general, we're going to now go into Microsoft's identity provider, because that's what you need. So what we're doing in Textiles is that because we know when you want to look for a job, most times what gives you the upper hand is when you are tied to a solution provider. Like I said, most times it's subjective, but what stands you out is what technology, because everybody is coming in and saying, I want to go into tech. You also want to have that extra leverage out,
Right.
against other people. So while you're learning the general cybersecurity, you're also now learning specific to a solution provider, so that when you put this skill set on your CV, it stands you out. And then an
Right.
organization that is already using this technology can say, oh, she brings the added value. So even though she's an analyst and entry level, she also understands this technology, and because we use this technology, she adds a value to us, and so that stands you out. That's the essence for this program. It one niche further. Let's push it up one niche further. Central identity system. Now remember, we're progressing. Now Centralized identity. Mute yourself, please. Mute yourself. Now we've understood the identity, right? But now we need to manage it. So that's why we need a centralized identity management. Just think about it of having one secure vault where all your users' identities are stored. You don't want to be running all over the place trying to find out who is who. Have you ever had to travel and you are looking for your passport, looking for your children's passport, right? So that's why in a family, there's always that person who is the person that is organized. That's the person that is responsible for family documents. That person that knows how to keep things well. Why? Because you don't want to be all over the place. So you know that file that you create and you put all the documents, your children's birth certificate, and put everything and put your, right? All those things that you put, that file is your central identity system. That purse or wallet that you put all your cards, which are your identities, is your central. So we must, the essence of this is to say that for us to be able to manage identities, we need some kind of centralized system. Stay with me. Now, what is that system? They are called identity providers. Identity providers are the systems that help you centralize and manage your identity. They will help you create the identity, they will help you manage them, they will help you store them. These digital identities are managed centrally by what we call IDP, capital I, small d, capital P, which means identity provider. Repository for user identities, they help with authentication, they help with security protocol, they help tell who is this person, why should we trust this person, how should this person access what should this person access. So when you put your username and password in your Instagram, it's actually getting authenticated behind an identity provider. Remember, I said we've talked about identities. We've given you examples of identities, how they exist today in your house, in your life, why it's important to have identities across systems that we use online. We went ahead to say that it's now important to centrally manage these identities, right? So these centrally managed identities, what manages them are now called identity providers. If I were you, without even stressing myself, I would create like a glossary that I use to so I will have IDP, what does it mean? Centralized identity, what does it mean? IAM, what does it mean? Just like that, you're already building a knowledge base for yourself. Tomorrow, you can sit, gather 2, 3 people and say, let me teach you about identity and access management. Do you know that there are 20 terms in identity and access management? These are the terminologies. And boom, you have created something that other people don't have. Easy peasy. The next beginner can pick your glossary of identity terminologies and become familiar with it. Again, another tip for somebody to use to create a portfolio. All right. Now we have different type of identity providers, right? We have Microsoft Entra, which is what we're going to be looking at in this program, Microsoft Entra. We have Ping Identity, Okta. There are so many. If you go to Google or go to ChatGPT and say, give me a list of identity providers, there are lots of them. But we are focusing on Microsoft Entra ID, which is an identity provider that Microsoft has and how you can use it to secure. Do you know that your social media platform, and I've been saying it here, social, are also identities, right? So if you see some platforms, have you tried to sign up with some application and you will see the application ask you if you want to use your Google, right? So you're happy because you don't have to worry about a new username and password. In fact, if I see an application this day that doesn't allow me to use any of my existing identities, it always frustrates me because it means I have to start remembering a new password. And then remember, if you use the same password, then that means compromise. You have opened more opportunity to be compromised. So I like to centralize my identity so that I know that I'm securing just one thing. So your socials, your Gmail, your Facebook, your Apple, your LinkedIn, the identities that you can use to authenticate to platforms, and that becomes B2B. So there are certain consumer services that you want to consume today, or business services rather business services that you want to consume today that expect you to use your consumer identity to consume them. And then you have application to application. So I talked about how for you as a user, when you log into Instagram or you're excited or you log into TikTok, is that you logged into your app, you authenticated you and you went in. You're not worrying about what are the other things that happen behind the scene, right? The other things that happen behind the scene for them to talk to each other. also run on identity. So they're called non-human identities, and they talk to each other. So you have the AWS Cognito, you have the Auth0, you have the Firebase. Again, these are for people who have really, really gone into application development. This won't look like rocket science. Don't beat yourself. You don't need to know them. I don't know all the identity providers. In fact, this table that you saw here, I got it from ChatGPT because I don't have to know them. You don't have to know all the identity providers, okay? So don't beat yourself to it. The attendance sheet is pinned to the chart. So if you look at the chart, there's something that is pinned there. If you click on it, you see the attendance sheet. Please do me a favor. I can see we're up to 59 people here. So start filling the attendance sheet just so that when you want to drop, you don't forget, because like I mentioned, the attendance sheet will be reviewed today and will categorize you in groups so that next week we will start our hands-on, we'll start our labs. The way we do in Textiles, we don't wait till the end of the program before we start giving assignments, before we start giving labs and group work. We start from day one. So after today, by next week, you'll be in your groups. You would have even gotten it in your email. So in the next class, I'll be doing a hands-on and we'll start doing assignments and courseworks. So it's important that you fill the attendance sheet. If you look at the chart up, you will see there is pinned. Click on it, open it, and fill it. Thank you. Do you know that your BVN, your NIM, their identities? So that's why they tell you keep your VPN safe, keep your NIN safe. Why? Because you have your services that have used those identities, right, as authorization are the reasons why the hackers are able to hack people. So the hackers know your phone number, they know your NIN, they know your BVN. Boom, they have access to your account. Why? Because the guys in your bank or whatever financial platform use those guys as authorization, right? And so as long as the phone number is matching the BVN, boom, it authorized, and then a transaction could fly. Are you now understanding why some kind of hack happened in Nigeria? It's by design. Is because of the way they have designed the identity, right? So as long as the identity has matched the condition, it will go and your account will be compromised, and you come to the bank and be vexing for them. The bank will say, you are the one that did this transaction. You'll be angry. I'm not the one. Why? Simple. Your phone number and your BVN, which is what they are looking for as the identity, are available to people online because somehow you have been careless about it, or somehow some API has been opened that people cannot take it and take your BVN and then they use it and consume it. So I'm just trying to explain that no hack happens because, oh, these guys are gang. No, it's just social engineering that give them the right information to your identity, and then they use that identity and they compromise you. So our focus, Microsoft Entra ID. We've taken you through the journey to understand about why cybersecurity is important in the world of today. I have shown you that there's high job skill shortage. So why you might have sent 500 applications and not gotten a job, why you might have been job searching for the last 3, 6 months, 1 year and not gotten a job, I can assure you that 100% or maybe 85% of the time, probably is happening is that you have not been able to tailor your skill set categorically to what the organizations are looking for. And so we are going to focus today on Microsoft Entra ID, which is one of the skill sets that is high demand in the world of today. Majority of the organizations are already using Microsoft services. So it's very important, if you niche here and if you skill here, it gives you an added advantage, even at help desk level. Even if at the end of the day, what you will narrow yourself down will be help desk because, oh, I don't have any skill set. But with what I have learned in textilers and my experience in, trust me, even if you have never worked, maybe you're at home, they give you money to go to market, right? When you go to market, don't you do negotiation? When you do negotiation, don't you come home and do balance sheet? When you are doing negotiation, don't you apply emotional intelligence? We're even going to give you those skill set training this year. At the end of textiles, by the time you have your emotional intelligence training, you have your project management training, then you add your own transitional skills and add what we are giving you. If you don't have any job, you will get at least virtual assistant job. If you don't have any job, you get help desk job. We want to be very focused. We want to be very targeted. We want you to get that job. We want you to get that skill set. That's why we are focused, and our focus is going to be Microsoft Entra ID. Has favored me. Hashtag today say Microsoft Entra ID, my new learning journey. Hashtag it. Let everybody ask you, what is this Microsoft Entra ID? Tell them that's what I am learning the next 8 weeks. The only thing I want to see, dream, breathe, and it is Microsoft Entra ID, because identity is the control plane of everything that we do. Any questions so far? All right. We will look at Microsoft security before we go. I know that we've hit our class is 2 hours, 1 to 3. So I know we have 19 minutes left. Before we go, I want to introduce us to Microsoft Entra ID so that by next week, we will now start understanding the different identities that are on Microsoft Entra. So we're almost there. Just 11 more slides to rush down between the next 19 minutes. Yes, your question, please. I saw somebody raise their hand.
Is logging in with incognito, for instance, is the just like when you log in into the normal browser and your IP could be traced. When you now log in with in private mode, can your IP be traced as well?
So this is what incognito does for you. Yes, your IP can still be traced, right? Because your IP is not your IP is to internet. I don't know if you're getting what I'm saying. So when you browse without IP, you can't connect to the internet. That's what I'm saying. So your service provider, your internet service provider that gave you internet, the moment they gave you internet, your ability to get that internet is because of the IP address that was given. But the concept of incognito is that you know that when you browse on the internet, your browser stores data, right? So when you log into when you browse, your browser itself keeps history and information. So when you switch to incognito, what you're saying is that I don't want to keep any history and information on this system for anybody to see what I have done. I want this system, by the time I'm done, the cookies and everything will refresh and you will not have. So by the way, if you have children who, when you go to their system, their browsers are showing clear, I think you need to start having a conversation with them why they're doing that. Because what incognito does is it clears it, and so you can't see anything that has been done there. But will your IP still be? Yes, because your IP is what even gave you the internet access in the first place.
All right. My question is there any relationship between identity provider and database management system?
Is there a relationship? I'm trying not to overthink your question. Let me break down something. Database is a system that keeps information, right? How are you going to access that information? I like to ask questions and have the people who ask questions interact so that I'm sure that it's communicating. So a database system will keep information, right? When you have
Yes.
kept that information in a database system, you want to access that information. How are you going to access it? You're going to access it with an identity, right?
Yes.
So that's the relationship in the most simplest and layman way,
Okay.
without trying to be very complex and techy.
All right. Thank you.
Yep. LA, do you want to help me out there?
I mean, that was perfect. I was just going to tell her that they are interwoven and also not interwoven. So it depends on how you're looking at it. But again, you can't get into your database without your identity. So you said it well.
Yep. So when we are looking at solutions, they are two separate things. Database is something that is storing information. Identity is something that is managing. But don't forget that you cannot access database without identity. That's why, remember, I keep saying that you guys in this call, for me, are the most valuable professionals in the room, because every other learning pathway needs you guys to give them a secure environment. The guys in the Power Platform, they will build wonderful applications, but guess what? They're going to create identities for people to log in. So they will come to you and say, can you help me confirm that my application is secure and cannot be hacked? The guys in the Power BI data analysis are going to create wonderful dashboards for management. They're going to create dashboards that management want to use to see project status. But guess what? They're going to come to you and say, management want this to be very secluded. They don't want everybody to have access to this dashboard. Come and help me design the identity access control with role-based access on this dashboard so that people cannot access it. They come back to you. The guys in the co-pilot agent that are developing wonderful AI agents that are responding with human language models will develop this, and they'll come to you and say, I have non-human identities that are going into different databases and spooling out knowledges and responding. But the organization wants to make sure that people don't access what they should not access. They come to you, you define the identity role access model. Should I keep going on? You are the most valuable professional in this program. So hug yourself, tap yourself on the back and say, wow, I made the right decision to be here today. All right. So we have decided to narrow it down to Microsoft. Remember, we are focused. We are focused on our focus. Our focus is our focus. Okay, so Okay, so we are focused on our focus. We don't want anybody to derail us in these 8 weeks. We don't want to be all over the place. So what did we do? We decided to say, let's focus on Microsoft identity, which is called Microsoft Entra ID. Remember, from today to the next 8 weeks, when you post your hashtag Microsoft Entra ID. When they ask you what is this, tell them the next 8 weeks. That is the word I have heard. Microsoft Entra ID. Hashtag Microsoft Entra ID. Because the more you say it, the more you speak it out, the more it sticks. Okay? Now, Microsoft Entra ID was formerly known. Okay, good. Thank you, Ellie. I'll pick them. Microsoft, I'll take your questions. Let me just introduce this. Microsoft Entra ID was formerly known as Azure Active Directory. So when you're on the internet browsing, because I'm going to give you an assignment today, in case you see Azure Active Directory on the jobs that you're searching for as skills needed, no fear. No say you see, they're talking Entra ID, I'm seeing Azure. It's the same. Microsoft is known for changing names. Microsoft can change their name like anything. So anytime you see um, Microsoft Azure Active Directory, it is the same thing as Microsoft Entra ID. So Microsoft changed the name and the new name is now Entra ID, right? What is this thing? This is now the cloud-based identity and access management service. So remember, yes, Azure, Microsoft Azure AD is now Microsoft Entra ID. Why Microsoft Azure is Microsoft Entra? Know the difference. Microsoft Azure is Microsoft Entra, but we are learning Microsoft Azure AD, which is now Microsoft Entra ID. Again, create that your gross glossary. My son was here and I was saying, Mommy, that's not it. Create that your glossary, list of terms that you are learning today and what they mean so that you can hold it as your handbook. Now, we now know our identities, right? We understand the importance of identities. We understand that different platforms have different identities, but they need a central manager. They need something that can centrally manage it. And we've agreed that there are different identity providers that exist today, different technologies. Now, Microsoft's own way of managing identity for any organization that subscribes to it is called Microsoft Entra ID. And with this Entra ID, you're going to see how we can create, manage, and secure identities. How, whether identity is an application or a device or a resource, how we can ensure that these identities are secured and we can give them access to where they need to be. Now we've understood that Microsoft Entra ID is Microsoft's own. Now, before we go, let me do some knowledge, something that will help you. We're not going to focus on it here, but just so that you are aware. Now, back in the days before this whole cloud, anytime you hear cloud, just tell yourself, what does cloud mean? Cloud means internet, right? Cloud means anything that is not physically somewhere, right? Now, back in the days when the internet was not a big thing, right? Companies will create a room in their building, put servers there, put network, and put applications and connect to it through what we call a local area network. So the identity provider that they were using there from Microsoft was called the Microsoft Active Directory Domain Services, right? Now, some organizations are still old school. They're still like that. Trust me, many of them still exist, right? They're still using. But anytime you hear Microsoft Active Directory Domain Services, just say old school, Omo, but it's okay, right? It's old school. Don't feel bad if you don't know it. Not everybody will know it, right? And remember, we're in the Gen Z world, so it's okay if we don't know it. But some organizations might put it as a requirement in their skill. It's okay if you don't know it, right? Nobody will penalize you if you don't have that experience. There is no person learning new. There's nobody who's experienced between 0 to 5, I can beat my chest, that really knows about Active Directory domain services the way some of us know it, right? We have slept and bred and done this 20 something years. So Active Directory has evolved. Now, people who know it are just knowing it because there's what they call Entra Connect, which I will show you. They're not really understand because everybody's on the cloud. So don't beat yourself too hard. If you see those terminologies, read it. If it's not entering, if it's not sticking, move no showstopper. But I'm just letting you aware that back in the old days, which some organizations still have, in fact, majority of your financial institutions still do it. They'll still have it because it's going to take a lot of investment and infrastructure for them to move away, right? They had that room with the server and that application called the Microsoft Active Directory. So now that Microsoft has now released the Microsoft Entra ID, they now need to find something to connect the two. And that's what we call the Microsoft Entra Connect, which I'll be explaining somewhere down the line. So don't beat your head. So that's just what this is, just explaining. Right. Now, remember, we're getting closer to technical. So please, I need you not to give up. We're almost there. 2 more minutes. Stay with me. We're there so that you can understand what we're trying to do. So that by next week, it will begin to make sense. Now, the cloud services exist all over the place. I like to use what you are used to, but then remember, because we're looking at the corporate world, we have to still come back. So you have the likes of Instagram and all of that sitting there. But when you come to an organization will have teams, they will have email system called Exchange, they will have SharePoint, which is their library for storing information, they will have OneDrive, and then they'll have different applications, they will have their devices. All these things connecting together require identity. Remember, we said it. Remember now. So don't be surprised. Anything that requires you to put a username and password, that username and password needs to be managed, right? And that's where Entra comes in. So what organizations are saying is that instead of them to have wahala, the guys in the Power BI class, right? Guess what? They're using Microsoft Power BI. They have an identity. So you're going to manage the identity. The guys in the Power Platform, they're using what? Microsoft Power Platform. They have what? An identity. That identity is managed by Microsoft Entra. The guys in the Copilot, Microsoft Copilot 365, they have an identity. Who is managing it? The Microsoft Entra guys. Are you seeing it now? All these different services talk together are called Microsoft 365 services. They are Microsoft's cloud services. And so all these services managed together are managed with Microsoft Entra ID. Good. Let me use something that you're very conversant with. Google. How many of you, do you know many of you that are using Gmail? Do you know that if you click on your Gmail, there's this dot, 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 I've forgotten, there's a name they call it. Application people will laugh at me if I'm calling it dot, 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 dot. There's something they call it. If you look at those dot, 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 that forms like a square. If you click on it, you're going to see so many applications that Google has given you. I can bet you many of you here, you have not even used 10% of those applications. Yes. So you see all those applications is that same concept. When you want to connect to all those applications, you don't need to create a new account, right? All you just do is because you have logged in with your Gmail, you automatically can access all those accounts. Many, many wonderful tools there. Many of you don't. Do you even know that you can start a blog? It's there. Many of you don't use it. Do you know you can do Google Meet? It's there. Many of you don't use it. Do you even know you can do Google Drive, Google Photos? Many of you don't know it, but it's there. My point is, you don't have to create a new account for all those services. Google has linked it to your Gmail. So the day you set up a Gmail account, you automatically had all those free services. That's the same thing with Microsoft. Why I'm taking this time to explain is that sometimes when people come into enterprise applications, they think it's a new world, so they feel overwhelmed just by thought alone, not that they've experienced anything that is overwhelming. Don't kill yourself to it. Just tell yourself, the same way I have Google Meet is the same way I have Teams, the same way I have Google Drive is the same way I have OneDrive, the same way I have Google Sheets is the same way I have Excel. It's just that this one is free. I'm in an organization. What is managing it? Microsoft Entra ID, and I want to learn how to centrally manage it, how to provision accounts, how to assign access. Are we making sense? Now, you cannot access all these things in Microsoft without what Microsoft calls a subscription, right? So as fancy as all these things are, Microsoft expects you to pay for it just the same way you pay for your Netflix subscription, you pay for your Prime subscription. Yeah, just the same way even your Instagram verification badge is what? It's a subscription. So you know today that before verification will go through, oh, you do ABCD. Now, if you have your money, you can buy that identity, right? You can get verified. The mics are still seeming like they cannot be unmuted, guys. It's still showing like the guys cannot unmute themselves. So please check. So there's always a subscription that is tied to a Microsoft service. Microsoft gives you the free one, but then based on what you can do and the level of security that you can apply, they give you the paid one. It's the same thing even with the Google. You're using the Google free one. There are certain things you want to do on Google, it will require you to pay. So it's the same thing. Google is free, Microsoft is free. Your Teams you're using now, you didn't pay for it, but the moment you want to do certain kind of things, you would require the paid one. To set up a Microsoft tenant is free, but the moment you want to do X, Y, Z, right, it will require a paid one. So that's just the same concept, right? To set up a Microsoft account is free. If you go and set it up, free. But the moment you want to be able to do enhanced security, like we're talking about, then you need to pay. So Google is the same thing. Google's market strategy is to give you those free ones, and then the moment you want to do other things with it, it will require you to pay. And then we have what we call the tenant. A tenant is now, remember, because this is cloud, right? Because it's the cloud, Microsoft doesn't want to bore you with how they built this infrastructure. So I used to tell people, I say, technology is not magical. You're sitting in your home and you're consuming service. It's sitting on a server somewhere. So when people say, oh, jobs are going, I'm laughing at them and I'm saying, your Instagram is working because there's a server somewhere in America or somewhere in in Europe that has an operating system installed and then has the application for Instagram. That's why you have Instagram. So the person who is going to manage that server, who is that person? The security man who is going to guard that server room. So you see that jobs are not going, it's just that they are tweaking and becoming more fancy and jazzy. So you need to also tweak yourself and become more fancy and jazzy. It's just like the case where girls are going for BBL now. But when you ask the guys, they will tell you I like natural. So why are the girls creating BBL? It's just for fancy because that's what is in trend. They think in their mind. Are you getting it? It's still the same thing. Men still prefer the old thing. But how come girls are still budging? Because so it's the same thing. Jobs are not going anywhere. Jobs are still in vogue. Jobs are just changing and falsifying and BBLing themselves. And so you just need to know how to tweak your CV, get the right experience to make you employable. Because somebody needs to be the security man of that data center that these cloud providers have. Somebody needs to develop the application for it to become a SaaS application so that you don't have to worry about building your own data center and building your own, application. So that's it. So Microsoft now says, if you come to me and want space, I will give you somewhere and you become a tenant. Just like the way you go to your landlord, you don't have money to build a house yet, but then you go and you say, I need a house. Your landlord gives you a 3-bedroom or a 4-bedroom, and guess what? You furnish it to your taste. You customize it to your taste. Have you not lived in some of these apartments or some of these flats where if you ever visit your neighbor's house, you will come out and say, my God, is it the same house that we are living? Some are good, some are bad. Some people have used their own to the point of it is a place of no return, while some people have uplifted their own to the point where you are asking yourself, is it the same house we are living? That's the concept of tenants. Microsoft gives you the tenant and allows you to customize it to your own way so that you can use it. Why am I explaining this thing? Because when we start hands-on, you understand that, okay, now I own my tenant. Microsoft expects me to secure my tenant, to protect myself. They are no more responsible for those kind of protection. And then identity, like I said, is how you log in, the rights that you have, the accounts that you use, the users. We'll be looking from next week, different, type of users. I know that we've hit, 3 o'clock. Just give me 5 more minutes and I'll just introduce us to authentication and authorization. We have 5 slides and we're done. So what does authentication mean? Authentication, when it comes to identity, means that I am validating someone's identity. I am saying that this person is the authentic self. I am saying that this person that I see, show me your authentic self. How many of you have seen those skits where somebody, goes to the club, is enjoying this nice young lady, and he gets home, and when he opens his eye, he asks and says, sorry, who are you? He's asking the person, who are you? And the person is looking at, the two of us went out together and came back and said, no, the person that I brought home is not the person that I have seen here. Because when the night came and the person woke up and, who he saw is not who he came with. So in identity, we always say, who are you? I know that you are coming to me, you have the URL to my application, but I need you to tell me that you are the same person that I'm expecting. So what do? You put in a username, right? And then when you put in a username, it goes further to say, I need to validate you and be sure you're authentic authentic. So give me a password. Give me something that shows that we are mutually cohesive, that we are related. And then he gives me a password. And he still says this, he's saying, I'm not satisfied. Can you give me a multi-factor authentication? Something else that will tell me that you are the real person that I need to be talking with. And then you put it that your multi-factor authentication code. But when you are putting your username and password, just know that what's happening behind the scene is that you are authenticating to an identity provider. Look at the chain. You put in your username and password to an application. What happens? You're authenticating to what? An identity provider who is validating you and saying, oh yes, this person, this is her username is correct. This is her password is correct. This is her token is correct. And then sitting on top of that will now be what we call different types of things. So the person might now check, okay, do you have a token? Do you have a group? So many other orishirishis that we will not go in details for now, but that's what validates that you are this person, right? So have you ever gone to a web page, right? And when you are coming, when you go to that web page, it will pop up and say cookies, right? And it will ask you that to accept or reject. If you are patient enough to read the cookies, you will see that there are different cookies for different things. It will have the one that will tell you for marketing. It will have it sometimes out of, you are tired, you're irritated. What do? You just click the cookies and accept it, right? So what happens the next time you come to that page, you don't have to log in. It takes you directly to where you left out before, right? Because the persistent cookie, so it identifies you that, oh, you're the person that came last week. And when you came last week, you were looking at lipsticks, right? So it takes you straight to lipsticks and then from there navigates you to other places. So that's what happens to what we call claims and tokens that stay with your session. Now, once it has validated, it needs to authorize you to say, you are this person, you are the real person. Let's use an example. When somebody knocks on your door, what happens? If you get a knock on your door at home, what happens? You either go and look at the pigeonhole, right, to be sure that the person at the pigeonhole is who they say they are. Is that not what happens? And then when you are sure that they are who they say they are, what do? You probably even ask. So there's this thing. My older daughter is in college, and when she comes back from school, she presses the bell. And my youngest son is always excited to go and open the door. So we had to teach him that, oh, it could be anybody. So ask questions. Now he frustrates his sister all the time. She pressed the bell and then he says, who are you? She says, oh, I'm this. He says, tell me my name. He said, tell me my nickname. The dude is just asking her question upon question so that, and if she doesn't answer him, he's like, I'm sorry, you're not who you say you are. So what is he doing? He's trying to validate who she is, right? So that he can authorize her access into the house. So authorization lies on entitlement and lies on access policy. So the person who asked the question about access control, that access control is a component of identity and access management. Yes, because what happens is that you are controlling people's access and you're going to use access policies, right? So you're going to say, you want to come into this building. Who are you, right? Who are you looking for? Do you have an appointment? Are you a staff? If you have a staff, where's your card? What floor are you going to if you're a visitor? Have you seen some lift that when you enter, it is from down, you select the floor you are going to. You cannot just press the lift and enter floor 1. You are tired, you go to floor 2. You will press where you are going to, meaning that if your card is not giving rights to that floor, you will not be able to go to that floor. So we have this kind of access policy. So authorization is what now takes that authentication, says, okay, your username, password, MFA is correct, but where do you want to go to? Are you allowed to go to that place? Then it will not tell you your access here is not enough, it's not sufficient, because why? You're not allowed to go to where you're trying to go. Some of you in your house, you have, ad hoc staffs, right? Certain ad hoc house cannot go. Imagine if you're in your room and you just saw your driver in your bedroom, but your house help can go to your bedroom. But imagine if you woke up and or you came and found out that your driver was in your bedroom. Be like, what is this, right? Why? So these are different identities, different people working in your home, but they have access control where they can go to, right? Imagine if you're, no matter how liberal you want to be, right? You cannot just say that anybody can go to the port, right? Either you finish cooking and be specific to say you can go and dish your food, but people cannot just stay and just go into the pot and dish food because there won't be control. What will happen is that some people will eat and some people will not eat, right? So it's not a case of you're segregating. The reasons why you do either portion controls or you dish out for everybody is just so that 1 or 2 people don't go and clear off the food, right? So that again, that is authorization. You're trying to authorize what needs to happen. Even with your children, right? Your children grow up, begin to teach them how to knock on the door before they come in. They are your children. You're not hiding anything from them. But hey, you need them to knock and you need to validate who they are. There's even how you can dress. There are certain of your children that can come in, but it gets to a certain age, right? Then you know that okay, the dressing has to change because now your children are becoming aware of their environment. So that same concept is what identity. For every type of identity, there must be an authorization, and the authorization can either come with access control, role-based access control, attribute access control, policy. It depends. So the policy can be that nobody takes their screen to their room, right? So the screen, the phone, sorry, nobody takes their devices, right? Whether it's phone, whether it's game, whether it's laptop, nobody takes it to their room after 7 p.m., right? So what have you done? The devices are the identity, right? The rooms are the identity, which is the location, right? The devices are the identity, but the access control policy there is a policy-based access control, which is that these devices don't go there, right? Right? That's it. Role-based access control, you have a driver, you have a cleaner, you have a house help, you have a housekeeper, right? Housekeeper can go to daddy and mommy's room, but driver cannot go to daddy and mommy's room, right? So these are different types of users identity. But you have given them a role-based access control. Housekeeper can't go to mommy and daddy's room. Housekeeper can go to here, but this person cannot go, these other people cannot go there. That's not what now we call role-based access control. Even taking further to attributes, right? Attributes, you have grandma, you have grandpa, you have uncle, you have cousins. You and I know that in the world where we're trying to control pedophile and all of that, no matter how liberal you are, there are certain family members that will come. You do not allow them to certain rooms of your children, right? Right? There's that control. And you also don't allow your children go. So that's called attribute based, right? There's an attribute to them. The attribute is that they're extended family, and so we're very careful. Are you seeing how we're breaking it down? So yeah, so that's what now authorizes the access in identity access control. And so you give again tokens that people use. So you could say, okay, you have access to mommy and daddy's room for 2 hours, you have access to this for 1 hour, and when after those period it expires, and then you take back that access and the person has to re-authenticate again. Thank you very much for staying with us. And we overshot by 14 minutes. And if we take the same 14 minutes that I came in late, it's almost like we used our 2 hours. Thank you for staying on the call. The audience has been consistent up to now. I will take the remaining questions and I will tell you what we need to do in readiness for next week. All right, questions.
Ask about VPN. Do you have something to say about this? Because I noticed I'm not so sure about how it works, and even though I use it in my location here, but I can't really say this is what I know about it. So I don't know, does it pertain to identity, like you've been teaching us on that? When can it be breached and all of that? I just need a little clarification about what it is.
Okay, quick one.
In relation to security, yeah.
Okay, quick one. Thank you very much. VPN, I will try not to go into deep because VPN falls under what we call network security, right? And then there's a part of it that is device because you put it on your device. So there's device endpoint security and there's network security. VPN runs on network technology and network topologies. And I don't want to bore the room with so many networking jargons. But again, like I was explaining to the person who had asked about incognito, I said, when you come on online, this internet that you are now, the reason why you're on the internet is that somebody has given you an IP address, which is an identifier that has allowed you to be able to stay online, right? So the virtual private network is just that network structure that exists, right? The VPN technology creates a tunnel for you that tells whatever service you want to go to that this person is coming only through this channel, right? Any other thing, it will create access control and say nothing else can come in here. So for example, if you get a VPN and say, I'm in America, but I want to work for only countries in Nigeria, let me tell you how it's related to identity. Now we're going to see I think in our third class I think it's in the second class next week, but if we have time, if not, to spill over to the third. When we're looking at attributes, if you remember when I talked about authorization is tied to attributes. Now there's an attribute that talks about location. Some organizations will say, for me to ensure that this identity is right and for me to give them the authorization to do what they need to do, they need to be in XYZ location. So they will create in the identity the control that says, yes, the username is correct, Joy, the password is correct, the MFA, but the location is showing that she's in Nigeria, but she's supposed to be in Ireland, right? So deny her access. Now, I might call, I might not know that that policy exists, and I might call service desk and say, I'm trying to access my email and it's not working. Service desk will go into the system and will see that the thing is flagging that I'm in a prohibited location. And then they'll reply back to me and say, oh, Joy, yes, your identity is correct, but your authorization has failed because you are in an unauthorized location. So what does VPN do? Because VPN is tied to your network, giving you access, you will now use VPN to contact your IP to show Ireland. Now, in identity, we have the ability to know that a VPN IP is different from a physical IP. Like I've told you, the IP authorities, if you are wondering which people hold our president, Nihola, she's one of the members of these organizations that give us IP address. They have created a block of IPs, and for everything that happens, every IP has it. So VPN networks have their own IP. So I can create an identity policy that says if the person is on a VPN network, block, and that becomes an attribute-based control policy. So the relation with VPN and identity is also part of what we're talking about, where we said identity is the whole control plane. Everywhere somebody is, you can find out what connects the person. So people use VPN in order for you not to see their original IP address, right? And that's possible. Maybe the application says only people from America can connect to it. That's fine. But when you come to real organizations, we can go as granular and say that if this is a VPN IP, block. So when people do certain remote works, right, because the company knows that they're looking for cheap labor, they go to these other countries that they can get cheap labor for, and then they tell them use a VPN and connect to us and work, because they know that their policy says that you must be in their country. But because they're looking for cheap labor, they come to these other countries, and then they give you a VPN that creates your IP address within the same IP marks as the country you are supposed to be, and you work. So that's the concept of VPN. But you can create security conditional authorization policies that know that an IP address is a VPN IP, because the block of IPs assigned to everybody is clear from the IP bodies that set up this IP address. Again, I'm not in networking, but I know, because by experience, is that there's a network body that gives each country inside the country, each company inside the company block of IPs. So there's no two IP addresses.
Goes like this. Will you say Azure identity entails IAM? The Azure identity, does it entails IAM?
Okay, I'll do a recap for you. I said that identity and access management is the ability to manage identities and their access. Then there are different solutions that can do it. You have Okta, you have CyberArk, you have Ping, you have One Identity, you have Microsoft Azure, which is now called Microsoft Entra. So to answer your question, identity and access management has nothing to do with technology. It is just the ability to manage identities and their assets. But you need something to manage it, right? You need a technology. And we are now studying Microsoft Entra, which is one of the type of technologies that helps you to manage it. So it's like saying that you like to braid your hair, you like to use expression, you like to use different attachment, but you say, I prefer expression. So you go to one type of braider. It's like saying human hair. There's the donor, half donor, quarter donor, 10 donor, 2 donor. You say, oh, I only use this type of donor. So when it comes to identity and access management, it's a concept. It has nothing to do with a solution provider. But for you to manage identities, you now need a solution provider. And one of them is Microsoft Entra, which is what we are learning. I hope that answers you.
For your excessive lecture, you mentioned something about cookies, right? I just wanted to find some a bit clarification about that. Sometimes you go to a website and you see these terms, you need to click accept some terms which are so legalistic, and you get confused, and it looks like trying to have access to your personal details and the rest. How do we trust this kind of conditions to access
Honestly,
some of these websites?
you just have to read. With cookies, you just have to read them. You just have to read those pop-up. So the thing is we don't like to read, and these technology people know we don't like to read. So you just have to read. The concept of cookies is that when you come online, you're leaving fingerprints. That's the truth. When you come online, you know how a dog or a cat leave their fur. You could walk into a room. If you're allergic to cat or dog, you could walk into a room. The dog or cat is no more there, but then you start to sneeze. And then person is like there was a dog here or there was a cat here. And the person is wondering, but they are no more here. Why? Because they've left their trails there, and that's what you're allergic to. So the concept of cookies is that when we come online, we leave fingerprints. So these application people, because they want to maintain a relationship with you. Now, the truth is, the concept of cookies started when they wanted to make internet interesting, meaning that if I come to a website today, I don't want to start from the beginning again. I want the website to be very intelligent, to tell me where I was before. But for the website to do that, it needs to maintain a relationship with me, right? And people are like, it's not that deep. It's that deep. So that's how cookies are. You leave a trail of yourself on the browsers, right? That tells the application owners when you come back that you are that same person so that they can give you that same experience. But now what's happening is that they've taken it a niche higher. So from an advertising perspective, right, I can now know because I have a cookie session with you on the browser, I can know the kind of things you browse about. I say, this person likes to browse about cars, right? Oh, this person likes to browse about. So if our company is going to launch a new car, I'm going to load the car for you the moment you come up because I can see from the cookie session you accepted to keep with me, I'm getting data. So the only way to manage cookies, two things I say, because it can be overwhelming to read it, I understand. What you can do is create a routine, maybe every week or every month, go to your browser setting and clear off your browsing cookies and start again. That's the only way to make your life easy. But it's a personal decision. But if not, then make sure that every website that pops up, you read it and you accept what you know. But if it's looking cumbersome, then have a routine in your life where every week or
All right.
there are some certain sites I go to as soon as I'm done, I gotta clear my cookies. And there are sites I go to, I leave it, and maybe every month or every week I clear it. It's just come up with a cybersecurity hygiene for yourself that works for you. All right. I said I won't stay here more
All
than
right.
more than
Thank you very
3:30
much.
because I don't want people to be bored. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so you talked about the Microsoft Entra ID, which you mentioned sits on the cloud. Can we also use that to manage on-prem servers that are not on the cloud? So if yes, how do we link them together?
mm, the truth is, let's take it a deep further. First of all, you need to manage your identity on-prem. First of all, your identity is on the prem, it's not on the cloud. So you need to have an identity provider on-prem, which will be the old school guy. The guy I said anytime, just remember his old school, the Microsoft Active Directory. Right now, the reason why you might want to go on-prem is, are there people that are on-prem that require access to the are there people that are on the cloud that require access to the on-prem? That's only where you now need to be thinking about, why do I need to manage it? And yes, then you will have to put what we call the Microsoft Entra Connect. You'll see that in the next class. So when you put in the Microsoft Entra Connect, then it allows you manage identities that are on-prem on the cloud and vice versa, where you can use, if you do device write back and all of that, you can also use that to manage. There's a bit of solution and architecture there, but the question we always ask is why? Because remember, we're trying to reduce the identity fingerprint. So if you have something that is on-prem, it's best to keep it on-prem. If it has no business being on the cloud, don't send it to the cloud, right? Except people who use it are on the cloud, then you want to. If not, keep on-prem, keep cloud.
Okay, is there a one-on-one with you? Can someone do a one-on-one with you?
Yes, if you go to, okay, I'll drop it. If you go to my Instagram, I have a booking portal there. Every month I
Okay,
put 4 free slots there. Pick
okay.
one, 4 free 30-minute slots. So we have that's just to even know what do you want before we now know whether we're doing training or we're doing mentorship or whatever. But it's every month I try to just give 30 minutes in 4 slots to people just to help them first of all understand what they want to do. We can start that, or you can just chat me, and if I have any free time, I can jump on a call with you to understand what you want to do. And first of all, I like to have a roadmap that you can take and run with any mentor that you desire that can give you results. So that's available. Yes. I've dropped my handles on the chat for any platform that pleases you. So do two assignments. Go to the Microsoft Learn. I'm going to drop it here. go to the Microsoft. And Titi has dropped it. Titi, if you can reach it faster than me, make life easy for me. Thank you. Thank you. Perfect. Yep. On that link, sign in with your Microsoft account, which can be your Gmail, can be your Microsoft account. Okay, so you don't need to create a new email. Sign in to just tell you, do you want to create a Microsoft account? Say yes, use your Gmail, and it will create. Remember, we learned identity provider, right? So you're going to see how you can use your Gmail to be an identity on Microsoft platforms, and sign in and start reading. Start from module 1 to start read so that you can have questions for me next week. Like I said, we just took bits and bits from here, but when you read on your own, you can have questions. That's 1. 2, think about what we've learned today. One way can you think about, look at all the places you log into there and begin to, out of curiosity, begin to ask yourself, this is my identity. How am I securing it? What are the controls that I have put in place to this my identity, right? Also ask yourself, why is it important? With what I've learned today, why then is it important for companies to know who is accessing their system? And why are they doing this? You think, if you're a business owner, begin to ask yourself, where are all the identities I have in my organization, and do I have controls over them? Are there ways I can decide, I can know who is authorized to do what? Have all of this thought process. Let's engage in the WhatsApp group if you have questions. Let's not abuse the communication there, please, but let's use it for constructive questioning, and I'm available for questions one-on-one. Again, like I said, the only thing stopping you is you can do this. Let's make this journey interesting. God bless you and have a wonderful evening.